Happy for you. That's awesome. Oh. Yeah, when they're back.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah. I was trying to actually set up with Golden Feather for Christmas, talking to Ronson, but you guys are already doing stuff. It didn't work. But we're looking for a band for Christmas. Maybe I'll mention Nezqwik when we're thinking of bands.
Yeah, sure. Where are you guys hoping to do it?
I think it's Casbah, but we're hoping to do like pajama Christmas party, food drive,
Cool.
give back to the community a bit.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Alrighty, folks, we should be on Facebook Live now. We'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll get started. Alrighty, folks, we should be on Facebook Live now. We'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll get started.
Oh, getting some slapback delay?
Yep.
We should probably test that again.
I think that might just be Jeremy to us.
Do you think anybody's going to find it weird that I'm doing this from my bed? Is that guy in his bed right now?
That means they're paying attention.
Yeah, I should do it from under my covers. I should have the covers up when I'm not answering, and then when I do answer, just slide the covers down.
That'd be awesome.
I was gonna say, like, at least you're fully clothed, you know, like that's.
Yes. Yeah, that works.
I think there's ever a problem with adding a dramatic element.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it helps.
All right, I think we are officially live. So welcome everyone to the 6th annual Musician Entrepreneur Conference. My name is Debbie Spence. I work at the City of Hamilton, and I'm the business development consultant for the creative industries sector. And I'm glad that everyone could join us tonight. We're really excited about today's session. It's the second session for this conference. And this is the 3rd time we're hosting virtually. And we're really grateful to have a lot of local musicians joining us live on Zoom and then also watching on Facebook. We've learned a couple of things over the last couple of years, but then also the last 6 years with the conference. Sometimes virtually it can be a little bit easier for musicians who may have some less conventional schedules to join us and learn in this way. So for convenience, this discussion will be recorded and be available to watch on Facebook and YouTube after the event if you can't attend today. So as we start our discussion, I'd like to recognize that we are situated on the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. The land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people across Turtle Island, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. So with these intentions in mind, we gather as members of the Hamilton music industry to share our knowledge and experiences. Together, we support the development and retention of Hamilton musicians and the local scene. Musicians are recognized as core creators within the local music industry. And without you, the industry cannot grow or thrive. We thank you for your work and creativity and want to see you grow and succeed as entrepreneurs and musicians, which is why we organize this annual professional development event. The conference is possible through the work of volunteers on the Hamilton Music Advisory Team and the Musicians Working Conference Group. With the support of city staff, and this year with the support and planning assistance from Cobalt Connects. We thank all of you for your participation and assistance. I'm so happy to have this panel discussion today, and I'd like to introduce you to Deshawn Jones, who will be our moderator for our Keep It Together discussion. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Deshawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome everyone again to the 6th annual Musician Entrepreneur Conference. So happy to be your moderator to today discuss a really good topic called Keeping It Together. If you're in a band, duo, or even external groups, you can find it very challenging, and from times to even find time to write songs, execute social media campaigns, even manage your personal, professional life to kind of keep the band dynamics together, which is sometimes could be a big chore. This session, we're going to bring you 3 musicians that have extensive experience with the band dynamics. We're going to discuss some of their success, failures, tricks, and things they've learned along the way to keep it all together, as well as explore some good ways that we can develop good working relationships. So I'm thrilled to welcome today our speakers that have a lot of experience with all things band. First up, I have Aleef Mehdi from Nezqwik, Jocelyn McIntosh from the Beelays, and Germain from Golden Feather. Our conversation should last around 30 minutes. The last 15 minutes will be a Q&A period where you can put your questions in Zoom chat, as well as comment on our Facebook Live video. They'll put up the tag so everybody can see it. It's at HAMONT music. So at HAMONT music, and that will be able to get you all your questions in there. So little less about me. Let's jump right in to learn a little bit about some of our speakers. We're going to go ladies first. So Jocelyn, we'd love to start with you. If you can give us a little brief outline of a little bit about who you are, and then from there we can jump over to Aleef, and then Brad can end it off, and we can jump into our questions.
Sounds good. Thanks, Deshawn.
No problem.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jocelyn. I'm happy to be here and talk about music and playing in a band. So I went to Mohawk College and studied music performance there and met all my bandmates, my husband, all my friends. I'm super fortunate. I met all my people, and I joined a band called the Beelays. The Beelays is a 6-piece. It's myself, another female singer, and 4 other guys. And we really tried to kick the band into gear. 2018, I had a tour booked and did some crowdfunding, played some pretty big shows, opened up for Femi Kuti in Toronto. So we were doing some really cool stuff. And, the pandemic hit, as I'm sure we'll all kind of talk about in our bands. And half of the band is traveling the world on a cruise ship, which is awesome. They're doing a jazz quartet and loving it, and able to, be away from home for months at a time and travel and play music. I am in Teachers College currently. Decided to further up with my education, and I'm hoping to get into a high school and be a music teacher there, but still play as duo, single, and another band called Orbit, psychedelic jam band. So as long as I'm doing some sort of creative project with my friends, I'm happy.
Nice, awesome, busy. That's awesome. Aleef.
Yeah. My name's Aleef. I'm the guitarist and band leader for Nezqwik. I started that band back in, I believe, 2016. It was a massive band before. I was trying to be like a gigantic horn section and like a 20-piece band. That was like the goal. And then we realized, you can't really make money like that at all. So,
Nice.
So then I went to guitar trio, and the latest iteration for the last like 4 years has been just a rhythm section quartet with keys, guitar, drums, and bass.
Yeah.
And we've really found our niche in that kind of sound. Yeah, I grew up in the Hamilton area. I went to Westbound Secondary School and kind of came up through that jazz program. I actually went to McMaster for psychology and human behavior, and kind of got back into music by kind of visiting some of my friends at Humber College. So I'd kind of like I would do school at Mac, and then at night go to Etobicoke and play up there with people and meet people. But yeah, it's been quite the journey the last few years, just, you know, leading a band and figuring out how all these things work.
All the
And
components.
yeah, exactly. Excited to talk about it all.
For sure, definitely. And last but not least, Sir Brad.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brad Germain. I'm born and raised in Hamilton. I went to Delta High School, which is now closed. I am largely self-taught musician. Took a little bit of guitar lessons in high school and just kind of took it from there myself. Started playing drums when I was young, and then I started writing songs and playing guitar when I was a little bit older, maybe my late teens. I've been in bands since I was 14. So my first band I was in was a band called Marble Index, which was like a kind of like an alternative rock band when I was a younger kid. And I got to tour the world with that band, and got to see a lot of things with that group. And then I started a band after that with my friend named Tara Lightfoot. Her and I started a band called Dinner Bells together, and we were in that band for a while. And that band was pretty successful as well, and was really fun. And that was like a 6-piece band. And then I was in a band called Now I'm in a band called Golden Feather, which is a 5-piece, I guess sort of like a jam band. A lot of improv and a lot of, 3 of us sing, so a lot of 3-part harmony stuff and that kind of vibe. And I've just been I play music because it just feels like something I have to do. I've been doing it for so long, and it just feels like a really important thing to me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it definitely, just hearing everybody, you definitely all have a lot of experience dealing with the band dynamics and interchanging and all the things that happen around being a part of a band and the mechanism to move that forward. So I'm really excited to hear some of your guys' questions or answers to these questions. Let's jump right in. This is going to be a group question for everyone, so we can pick and choose who can start. But let's start off with exploring what each of you are currently keeping together. Balancing within your careers, your band activities, personal life, things like that. We'd love to share find out exactly what's going on in your current life, and then how you kind of, put it all in place and keep it all together. Let's start off with Aleef. Let's start off with you.
Yeah, sure. It's complicated now, because I remember when I started the band, I was, just kind of fresh in university and, 18, 19, 20 years old. Everything seems complicated then, but it's not nearly as complicated as it is now,
Yeah.
So, there's bills to pay and stuff like that. So, and we're all trying to make music, our living.
Right.
So in terms of keeping it together, it's less of doing, every gig is for fun because that's the beauty of music, but at the same time I got to make sure that everyone's compensated fairly, right? And that they can kind of go home and feel good that like they didn't just get fulfillment and exposure out of the gig,
Right. That happens a lot still.
I mean, people still try to, right? They I won't name any names, but even in the city, like you'll go to some venues and you won't get compensated as you should, So that's the main thing, just making sure everyone's happy and and treated as they should be. As like I want everyone to value my band members as much as I value them.
Right.
Yeah.
So in regards to what you have going on in for balancing, keeping things together, what has been some of the things that you've had to put in place, or kind of like, because you deal with a lot of different dynamics and different personalities, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm really lucky in like the 3 guys I play with in my band. They're some of my best friends, so we can all be really honest with each other. And it's happened before where sometimes maybe we don't see eye to eye on something, but everyone feels really comfy just kind of putting it out there, and it gets communicated and worked out.
Right.
And I think that's really important in a band dynamic, to be honest, just to be with people you're comfy talking to with like difficult conversations, right?
Synergy. Have some good synergy.
Yeah, if you're in a work environment with people you can't talk to, you're not going to have a good time. It's kind of that vibe, right? So
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Brad, I'm gonna throw that question over to you as well. Keeping it together, how does that play into part in regards to balancing and how you do you with your band activities, your career, and your personal life, kind of mixing it all in?
Yeah, I think it's always a bit of a struggle, especially if you're trying to do it in a professional way or semi-professional. It requires a lot of time. Like I also own a record store, so I have to balance the time of owning my own store and being in a band and having a 3-year-old son, and then I also have a couple other bands that I'm in as well, but those aren't as active. Yeah, I feel like yeah, just like as far as balancing it and finding the right balance is like trying to find people who have the same sort of goals as you as to what they want to achieve, and you know, just kind of spending some time scheduling things so you know that, you know, certain days of the week that you're going to get together and try to keep yourself on some type of schedule. And yeah, I find is like a lot of my position is like yeah, just being able to creatively move things forward and be able to make sure that everybody feels like they have a voice inside of the project and everybody feels like what they do is valued. And that we're all kind of working towards a common goal, which is, you know, trying to make the best art that we can and trying to yeah, just trying to be really honest about what we're trying to do with each other and with ourselves, and treat the music with respect and treat each other with respect.
Yeah, there's a lot of juggling, because I talked to a lot of different bands over the years, and just to find out some of the pitfalls and, you know, the pros and cons or whatever, I find that there's a lot of juggling that goes on because you're dealing with so many different dynamics, especially if you have a professional career as a business. Your music is a business as well. Then you got your family life, and then you have your band life, because you're dealing with those people's personalities as well as their lives as well. So it's my hats off to you guys, and knowing how, especially for as long as you've been doing it, and even multiple bands as well. That must be a lot.
Definitely,
That's
a challenge.
Jocelyn, let's hear what you have to say. Same question.
Yep, I got it. So with the band being gone, a lot of energy has gone into other projects, which has been kind of nice, because now these other projects that were just creative and on the back burner have really blossomed into new things. When it comes to the band that's away, like we're still booking gigs and we're still pushing content, we're still writing, we're still sharing ideas. It's just we're not performing right now until we're home, and you know, they're leaving time, chunks of time for specifically coming home to tour. So the intention is still there. We're not losing steam on that, but you know, people have to make money and experience new things. And I'm lucky that I teach piano. So I'm surrounded by music, and all the members in the Beelays don't have day jobs. Like they teach in the evenings. So lucky for scheduling that way. But as soon as, you know, you get in a new group and most people have a 9-to-5 job, it gets a bit tricky, you know, because I work 4 till 9 and teaching. So
the juggling.
Yeah, you know, you can be rehearsing, you know, and having dinner at like 12:30 on like a Wednesday is like totally normal, and that's okay, you know, that's the way it goes. But yeah, I've kind of had to really like think about myself as an individual and as a musician, and just because my band is not here currently doesn't make me any less of that, you know, and what can I still be doing to grow my craft and you know, my writing and my input in the group, even though we're not meeting regularly to like work through that. So it's good.
Well, that's it's really awesome again just to see. There's a lot of, you got to be on your P's and Q's, and what I'm getting a lot is project management. Really, I'm finding it. Even though you're artists, you're still entrepreneurs, and when you put that hat on, it's a different element. What are some of the tools you guys? This is a group question again. What type of tools do you guys use to help with that type of keeping everybody in line, keeping everybody in know, keeping the communication fluid? So because there are a lot of, you know, multiple hats going on, a lot of multiple bands, multiple businesses, side business, profession, you know, education, family, things of that nature. Are there any tools out there that you could recommend or that you use that you can let us know? And let's say, Brad, we can start off with you.
Well, I use my calendar function in my phone a lot to schedule things. Yeah, I find like even just a good thing, a good practice is like, I'm sure most people do it already, but in your band dynamic to have a group chat that you're all very active in, and then you just kind of keep checking in with each other to see if everybody's expectations are being met, and if anybody has anything that they're concerned about, or the way that their time is spent, that you kind of do that you kind of get that stuff out in the open.
Yeah.
A lot for me, a lot of that, the management and the project management of it is really like, yeah, just keeping pretty good notes of the things you have to do and the things you want to accomplish. It kind of depends on what your band is doing, right? Like if you're in the process of making a record and you want to make a record, then that's a different level of things that you got to kind of keep, that you have to figure out. And then if you're playing shows and stuff, it's a little different. But yeah, like I'm not a very organized person, to tell you the truth. And like music, I just hope that it just like, a lot of times it just seems to work out. But yeah, like I find just group chats are so essential to managing a project, just to like know when people are free and be able to ask questions and have everything bounce around really quick, and and scheduling things.
Yeah.
It can be really, really hard.
Yeah, streamline everything.
Yeah.
Jocelyn?
Yeah, I would agree with Brad. Like we have a group chat. It's, I know some people don't like having social media, but I think when it comes to a band, it just makes it easy to have one platform you can all communicate in and be present on. If someone doesn't check it in 4 days, it's a bit frustrating,
accountable,
right?
right,
So
yeah.
just, making sure that you're staying on top of it. We, at one time, we shared Google Calendars. So like we all had each other's calendar, and then my phone just looked like a big mess. So I didn't really enjoy that too much. But it is another way that some people do, so you can see what everybody's up to.
Right.
But yeah, I think the main thing is just being present, making sure you're on top of it. You're not letting things go by like for days at a time. If someone's got a gig proposal and they need an answer, if you're available, like you can respond to that right away.
Awesome. Aleef?
Yeah, man, group chats.
Group chat, everybody's on the group chat.
Yeah,
I've used like programs like Slack before, and like whatever else I have to use to try to keep everything organized and then keeping communication. Because I'm sure that in some bands, maybe even yourselves, you delegate, on some of the workload, and it's keeping things almost accountable in a way where that can really happen. Where it's a good thing to have some type of, as you say, centralized system to communicate and keep everybody on point. I have a question is for Brad. How have things gotten a little more complex over the years, and kind of keeping the band, or some of your other, even your bands, creative and motivated and productive, especially coming out of the pandemic, but even now how things are just moving fast. Like how is it, how do you keep up? How has it changed to keep everybody motivated?
Well, I think a large part of it is like, from my perspective, a lot of it is I try to, when I'm starting a new project or starting something, I really try to choose the people that I'm working with carefully, and making sure that their goals and interests align with mine, and they're looking for this to get the same things out of a project that I am, which is not lofty, because it's essentially, like, I just want to create for the sake of creation, and and I want to share energy with people, and I want to share energy with the audience, and I want to, it's like, it feels like religion to me in that way. So, like I have to make sure that I'm surrounding myself with people who have that same kind of point of view with it, and they feel like it's something that is like an intrinsic type of thing within them, that so then you don't really have to worry about some of the things of keeping people focused and keeping them motivated, because they have the same kind of goals as you. And as long as you're putting all of your heart and soul into the art that you're creating, then if you're with the right people, they'll follow that lead, right? They'll follow the lead of the intensity of the process and how important it is to you. And if you're with the right people, they will want to go with you on that.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. As musician, I like to say artist entrepreneurs, but as musician entrepreneurs, what has been one of the biggest, I don't know, blockades or pitfalls or things that have kind of like a restraint over, that you found that in regards to pushing the band, developing the band, managing the band? And just wanted to find out, it's within your travels. So what are some of the pitfalls you can kind of talk to us about, and some of the struggles you'd had to overcome? Start off with Jocelyn.
What comes to mind is losing some venues that allow for original music.
Okay.
Hamilton has lost some really good ones.
Oh.
Some due to condos, some due to just the places closing, like the St. Hollywood, Baltimore House.
Yeah.
Huge, these are creative platforms that artists go to, like that Baltimore open house or open mic got me started playing in front of people more, and I know a lot of friends are the same. Like, it was such a community where we could go, and trying to find places that fit like a psychedelic wacky space jam band,
Yeah.
like so that's been really hard. And the places that are around are few, or don't value us the way that we feel we should be. But yeah, that's been tough. And then Toronto is tough as well, like just getting in there and finding a cool spot to play. Like we've been losing a lot, I think, due to the pandemic and just like gentrification, like everything's becoming condos and restaurants.
Yeah.
We're losing our creative spaces.
Creative space opportunities.
Play what we want, play our own music.
Interesting. No. Aleef, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the venues thing is a really, really good point. Hamilton's really had a tough time with that, for sure. I mean, like the Cat and Fiddle is definitely, like, I used to go to that jazz jam, and that was a big, like, I know it's at Corktown now, but it's a little different. So that was a big one. But yeah, in terms of just like pitfalls and struggles, like today it's a little different. I find it's just like the members in my band, for example, are just really, really busy guys. Like they're just gigging all the time. And we all have different gigs with different people. So we all value this band a lot, but at the same time, I'd say like
you got to make the money.
5 to 90% of our work is not this band,
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, because this is what we're doing
full time.
Yeah, so we're doing full time. So our gigs are really this band is just like, it's nice. It's stress free because we have friends that get to hang out and play really hard music. So somehow that's stress free. But so it's hard to juggle and say like, okay, you free, the Friday 17th of this month. It's like, actually, I'm out on the wedding gig this month and blah blah. Or I'm on tour away in Calgary or stuff like that. So this, like, for example, like we just did super crawl on like September 10th. It was.
Yeah.
So we did like the super crawl set at noon on one of the stages, and we played like the after party at this club and then in downtown.
Yeah.
So it was like a full like 14 or 15 hour a day. And my drummer and bass player, they flew in from Calgary and Ottawa respectively that morning at 6 a.m.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's just juggling those things. They're just like so normal. You're just like, okay, I'll pick them up at 6:30 and then we'll go to sound check, and then we'll sound check the next gig, and then we'll play the next gig, and we'll just do it,
Yeah.
But those things are not like normal things that people are juggling in everyday life that are musicians,
It's getting everybody together. So it's on one end is like they're losing the venues to perform, and then on the other end it's like you have opportunities where the band's performing, but it's band members are performing, not the actual band that you're wanting to grow through for the business side and everything. So I totally understand that. Hey Brad, let's hear what you have to say about that one.
Yeah, I kind of echo those statements. I think they're both really good things we're up against. Yeah, like we even just finding the time where everybody in the band is so busy trying to make a living in every avenue of playing music that it doesn't always afford a lot of time to a project, especially a project that's making original music, which can be hard sometimes to even get opportunities for that to pay. And then like I guess like another the thing that's difficult is sometimes when you're kind of trying to take the next step up in a band, when you're trying to go from something which is maybe just inside your own town and you're trying to take it to the next, to like more touring, more shows, a larger commitment. That can be hard when people have, other commitments, other musical commitments that they're trying to do, and other avenues where they make more money. It's hard to kind of get everybody together to agree to possibly make less money and do more traveling and spend more time away for something that is not guaranteed in the end, something that is like you really just trying to achieve something that, in the end could be more lucrative, at least financially. Like nothing in music is lucrative at all, but lucrative in like a sense of like it could like pay off in the end, but it can be a real challenge to get everybody to be able to have the means to make the sacrifices they have to kind of get a project to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, as the on the entrepreneurship side of being a musician, have you found that there's been blocks or struggles to even put some effort and focus or to make headway regarding those avenues of the marketing or the social media campaigns and getting that outside of and putting, like, I guess the struggle or the fight to put down the creative and get into the commerce? I don't know if you guys have, if you can elaborate, if you've touched base on or experienced anything like that, that could, because you always find when I talk to artists, a lot of artists, they always say, well, I know what to do, I don't have the time to do it, or I get lost in it, if you understand, like the business aspect. And because there's so much wanting to be an artist, they find it kind of pushed away. Do you guys find that you kind of go through some of those roller coasters in those aspects? Anybody want to jump in?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's always a battle because, especially with original music, do you want to make it more commercial? Do you want to make it more accessible? Do you want to just do what makes you happy, right? Do you find a balancing act between those things because you want to reach some people, or do you just stay true to yourself the whole? These are just things you ask yourself constantly, right? All the time. So, and even with social media, in terms of like marketing and stuff you were talking about, I found back before COVID, even before that, like maybe 2016 to 2018, there's kind of like a golden era of when you could advertise this stuff on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
And that the algorithm really has just shifted away from really supporting creatives. It's definitely become more of like just like you just see way more ads there now, right? It's just crazy, right? So it doesn't fill the same purpose anymore. So before that, if it was band posters, and then it got replaced by like Facebook, Instagram, and it's not really replaced today, right? So there's like a large reliance on word of mouth, but at the same time, word of mouth has been like the hardest thing to do ever the last 2 years, right? Because you haven't seen anyone. So there's lots. You have to get really creative, and you find out really fast like who really wants to hear you, right? So
Jocelyn, any roller coaster effects or pitfalls or struggles you found trying to dive more or get more involved or have I guess part of your schedule or keeping that section of your band together is that part of the growth of the band?
Yeah, I personally don't love the business side. I would be happy to just do the creative music side and have it all fall into place, but it doesn't always work that way. One of the band members is like really good at booking and like talking to different venues and reaching out. We have a few other band members that kind of take different roles when it comes to that. So we all kind of work together. Like there's no, I don't think, designated person to do the business, but there are some people that enjoy it more and are better at it. So we toss it to them. So it's really the self-promotion or like the business, like it's not really something I look forward to. I'll admit, not my thing.
Not your forte.
No.
So Brad, your answer I would really love to hear, because I know your experience of taking you with the bands you've been with, you've taken you of different locations geographically. So there's a lot of administration that goes on in a lot of those things, and being involved in even a record store, that aspect of balancing, knowing about what to do and how and the time to do it. I'd love to hear your answer in regards to how you kind of keep that all kind of together in regards to, because you've done a lot and you have a lot of things going on with that.
Well, in the earlier days, what would have really helped is like when I was younger, my first band was on Universal, so so that record label handled a lot of that stuff. So that was a different animal altogether, because it was like being inserted into a machine, and the machine does all that work, and they pump so much money, so it's helping things move in that direction. I didn't really understand it. I would just see how much the band was in debt from what they were trying to do.
Oh my God.
And then and now like we have label representation again, and like, and you know, so you do get some of that help in ways, but and you know, and I do a lot of social media, because I do a lot of it through my business. Like the record store has quite a few followers and like a big kind of platform, and then the band is another thing. And I don't mind doing that stuff, because I just feel like if it's coming, if you're comfortable enough on camera, I guess, and then you are just being yourself, then it tends to work out. I feel like the problems with managing social media and those kind of things come when you feel like you have to construct something to be. And if you can just allow yourself just to be who you are, and just allow, and even just like the approach that we take with Golden Feather is just like, let's just let people see how silly we are, and then also give them a window into just the process of a band and just how a band works, and just like, let's not try to really like misrepresent it or try to market it. Let's just allow it to be what it is. And I find I apply the same principles to my business as well, of just allowing it to take that natural shape. So it's getting your band noticed and getting that to pass around is insanely hard. And as Aleef said, especially in the days where you couldn't really play shows, it's so hard, because I think the band that I'm in is so reliant on people going to see the show, and then they tell their friends that the show was dope, and then they bring their buds, and like, and that's such a big part of it. And advertising is not as, advertising on social media, it seems like a waste of energy and time. And so, I think a huge part of it is just managing your expectations, and just knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, and knowing that you have to just make yourself as accessible as possible, and make the music as accessible as possible. Then just hope that slow drip, just keeps dripping.
Keeps on dripping. You mentioned before, Jocelyn mentioned before that with everything goes that they delegate sometimes some of the tasks. Now, in all your bands, is it safe to say that there's some type of form of a hierarchy, like a band leader, in your bands?
Not mine.
No, not yours.
So we have 6 cooks in the kitchen, and we do our best to manage it. We all have our strengths. We're all friends, so there's always like a respect, number one. Like, certain ways we talk to each other, and we've never crossed that line. So
it must be challenging at times, though. I'm sure it's been challenging. Yeah,
it's definitely been challenging. And there's been members in the band that were dating and aren't dating anymore, and the band is still there. So we all love the music. So I think that we respect each other as musicians, and we love the music enough that we can talk to each other about things that maybe aren't serving the song, and try and take our ego out of it. But it is hard. Like, it's not something that just happens naturally. It takes practice and time and patience with your other band members. But we all write the songs, and we all make decisions as 6. So we've managed to do it so far.
Yeah. Aleef, in regards to your band, I know that your band is made up of other members coming in, but in regards to who's the person who kind of takes the lead and kind of organizes things, is that something that's more or less your part?
I do everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
No,
do you delegate it all? Like, is it something that because the workload, like just listen to Brad, it's like there's a massive workload, especially when you're dealing with a lot of different things, trying to, let's say the band wants to get on college radio and you don't want to do a college radio tour next year. That takes a lot of activity to lead up to those type of things to make those come to fruition. Is that something that you kind of have challenges with or dive into with your band as well for delegation?
Yeah, we don't really like it, the music is definitely delegated, like the process of the rehearsals and all that. Like I don't feel necessarily like a formal band leader in that sense where I'm the leader and everyone else is following me. It's very much an integrated process where we all have input on every single song and everyone can say if they don't like something and so on and so forth. But in terms of the business side of things, I do every bit of it. Yeah. Wow. And honestly, that's because I'm good at it.
Well, you can keep, again, that's your thing of, well, here's the question then, keeping it all together then, if you're good at it, like what would you say is your thing? Well, how do you keep everything together in regards to keeping everything manageable with those things? And then knowing that you have your members are sometimes all over the place, lack of a better term, because of gigging, you doing yourself, I believe you say you also teach on the side sometimes. You gig on the side, so like there's a lot of different dynamics. So what would be if you had to say what would be your thing, what would it be to kind of keep it together?
Most of this industry is just relationships with people, right? So it's just how you carry yourself. If you carry yourself with like lots of integrity and you're a person that people like talking to, I think that takes you really, really far. So I really think that's most of it. It comes down to really just being a good person. Right. If you can do that and opportunities come up in that scenario, and if you're a good person and you're a good hang, the opportunities will come to you in that scenario, right? Because people want you as part of this thing, or that's like really, I think it's really just as simple as that. There's lots of things to make confusing and complicated, but it's not that complicated. It's just be a good person and
just do your thing,
hang out with people, right?
Keep
exactly. And like, if something doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. It's okay. You don't shut the door, but it didn't work out in this particular time.
I always say if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. So
that's usually the case now. Yeah, exactly. But keep the door open because maybe if the budget grows in the future or something. And that has happened a lot. I found like there's lots of stuff that we didn't get before COVID, and then stuff closed down, and now we've come back. And the budgets have exploded, and now they're like, hey, we can offer you this much money to do this thing. I'm like, really? That
a lot
I was
more.
gonna ask for half. I'm down.
Nice.
So
nice. Here's another group question. It's kind of like a simple one. How do you balance having fun as an artist versus getting stuff done? So fun versus focus. How do you kind of dabble in that? And that's anybody can handle that. Let's say Brad, you can answer that one, and then we can jump over to Jocelyn as well.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm always been one of those kind of people that feels like if you're doing it right and it's coming from the right place inside you, it's always fun. So like I'm like, even the hard stuff is fun in a challenging way. Like it's when you're trying to get someplace and I always try to keep that mindset of when I'm working like that. And yeah, but I do like it is for me, it is things like if you could limit the amount of repetition you have to do of something, that can that keeps things a lot more fun. So you can do serious things but in a light way, and make sure that you leave enough time for joking around, and make sure you don't take yourself too seriously, and that keeps things fun. Those are the main things for me. It's just like so much of it is it's a mental game, and like how much you can see the magic and the beauty and the humor and everything, and keep things as light as possible.
Awesome. Jocelyn.
I would agree with all of that for sure. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. I do it because it's fun and I love it. And the people that I play with are people that I enjoy. It's more than just like getting together and playing music. I've subbed in some wedding bands or done some more corporate things where that is the gig. You play the music and you leave, and there's not much social, and that's okay. But I'm fortunate that the projects that I have are really good friends that we can feel safe and be vulnerable and try things and feel supported. So it doesn't feel like work. It's a release. I'm grateful. The only thing that feels like work is setting up sometimes and
Yeah.
like I'm like, other than that, like,
Slinging gear.
yeah, it's a nice way to end a day or start a day or something to look forward to on the weekends. And so, and I have a dog. I go for walks with my dog a lot outside.
So it helps.
Yeah, music is
Awesome.
healing, soothing.
Lastly, Aleef, fun versus focus.
Yeah, I mean, there's a balance, like for example, now like the gigs have, as it does when it gets colder outside, the gigs kind of start to slow down a little bit.
Right.
And it's been a really, really wild summer, which I'm really grateful for because, there were no gigs for a long time. And now suddenly there were so many for this entire year. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because, when you have lots of gigs, you don't actually have that much time to practice anymore, I find. So I'm trying to like actually switch and I'm trying to focus really. I'm trying to focus a lot more for the next little bit here, just so I can like kind of spend some time on like getting better still,
Right.
So, but that's something that I think everyone in my band kind of goes through as well. It's like now we got some time. Let's just sound really, really good because we're kind of like pushing and trying to be like as good as we can possibly be at our instrument,
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So yeah, it's a balance because also if you just focus and it's not fun, then you won't continue, right?
True.
You need positive reinforcement.
Just checking on some time here. I have a couple last questions. And then we're going to be jumping into a little Q&A. We have a question that came from someone. What would you, I guess I could say the last question I would say is, if you could give one piece of advice to a band, whether emerging or established, what would be your advice in regards to really knowing how to kind of have the best thing I could say is to have band dynamics and or if they're looking to form a band, what they should be looking for, if they have a band and how, if they're going through some things, how to cope, or how to deal with, conflict management, things of that nature. What kind of advice would you have for a band, like I said, emerging or established? Anybody can jump in. Let's say start off with Brad.
Yeah, I think the best advice I could give to people is just like, just try to be as open as you can with the people that you're working with, and then they'll usually feel like hopefully they will feel like they can be open as well. And in a group setting, I think that's important. And like, yes, I feel like so much of that comes from, like, I guess for lack of a better thing, like for a lot of the bands, like the role of leader in a lot of ways has fallen to me in certain ways, but I just try to like, to keep that dynamic going well. Is just try to be open with people and be honest and be, any levels of criticism or anything you have to try to keep them constructive and also be able to handle criticism when you need to. And
that's important.
Yeah,
that's very important.
Yeah, like understand. And I think it goes to like Aleef's point too of just like the bottom line is like you have to be a kind person, you have to be a good person, you have to treat others with respect and kindness. And if you bring that energy to a band dynamic, I feel like that type of energy is far more contagious than a negative energy, and it can really take hold within a group where everybody feels comfortable and feels heard and feels seen. And then that makes the dynamic stuff a lot easier when you can just be, if you're in that role where you're trying to get something done or you have a vision or a creative vision, to try to get those points across in a loving and generous and kind way.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great answer. I'm going to jump into, because for time's sake, I want to make sure we get these questions. We have a question from Wes Gray. He was basically saying, what would your advice on how to do music full time? Jocelyn, tackle that one.
Advice on doing music full time. I think you have to wear lots of different hats. So for me, like I teach, I play in a few bands. So I guess it depends on if you want to just play and perform. There's musicals I've been part of too. So I think, being open for a while, I was saying yes to absolutely everything that came my way, just to make connections and meet people. And so I think if someone's starting out and they want to, really push themselves, that saying yes, being available and open to any different opportunity, because you never know where things are going to take you. And there's more avenues of performance and music than, just what we see as a band, like you could be in the pit band, or you could start a YouTube channel that goes somewhere, so
Definitely.
following your curiosity, I think.
Awesome. Here's another question from Sheila. Which source would you recommend to be used to determine equitable musician rates? We'll start with Brad, and then we'll jump to Aleef.
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. Which source would you recommend be used to determine equitable musician rate?
I don't know that I really know the answer to that question.
From Sheila.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, maybe Aleef could answer that better than me. I'll pass.
Damn, man.
Maybe Sheila can say that question again.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah,
I think it's a hard hitter, and it's an important question, and I think it's a really hard one that everyone just kind of has to figure out. And the real answer is you never really figure it out. You kind of it's
like
very
a fair,
circumstantial.
Yeah, like a fair rate of pay, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what they're asking, and it really, I think I think musicians really gotta start just standing up for themselves, and if they need to break it down hour by hour. It's like you how much time you spend on rehearsals, how much time you spend driving to those rehearsals, how much time you spend driving to the gig, how much time you set up for the gig, how much time did you actually play the gig? Probably an hour, right?
Yeah.
All these hours accumulate, and they're probably 20, right? So then you look at those 20 hours and look at what a minimum wage is as a bare minimum, because you're doing a specialized job, right? So you wouldn't get paid minimum wage for that.
Right.
But start from there, and then, I think I'm seeing a note here as well. Like the city of Hamilton does have a fair pay kind of
policy
standard for musicians, and lots of cities are trying to adopt that. So you can look at those resources.
Definitely. That's a good one.
But I've found that's where I've started, is just accumulate your hours and go up. Go up from there, because you don't deserve minimum wage. You deserve a lot more because you have a specialized skill. Definitely.
I have another question from, please excuse me if I pronounce your name wrong, but Berger. He says, what keeps you pushing forward in your music? And the second part to that question is, have you ever had any doubts in your journey? Jocelyn, let's try you.
Keeps me pushing forward. I think it's just in me. I think music chose me, really. I don't really know. It just is part of me. It's part of something that makes me feel more like myself. So I guess it depends on pushing music in, you're practicing and your love of it, or pushing music in making money. But regardless, it's a labor of love. I love it. And I'm grateful that I can come home after a full day of teaching and still just sit at my piano and enjoy. So going to concerts, I think, is also a great one. Seeing other musicians in the scene that are, amazing, and you feel excited and motivated, and coming home to practice, and, really being part of live shows as an audience member too is definitely motivating for me.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Another question. Another question. This is a really good one. Have any of you resolved any differences of opinion as to how to, let's say, split songwriting credits, or if a new member joins the band and they bring in different ideas? How have you, if that's come to a part where you have to deal with resolving different opinions for the band, and maybe different directions, and how have you resolved any of those type of discussions or conflicts? Aleef.
I haven't really had to resolve any stuff like this yet. But I will say, I asked pretty much the same question to the band leader for a band called Snarky Puppy. His name's Mike League.
Nice.
And he said, if it's ever a debate, just split it. It's not worth the hassle. If someone feels like they had some input in it, just put their name, just put them down. Why is there's no point debating these things, right? You really got to put your ego aside in music, I think, right? So if someone had any input in the song, they should get a credit. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, I guess like they throw that example as for song credits, but there could be other the differences of opinions that might be say, okay, venturing out to a certain geographical area, or something to deal with the direction of where the band goes. Brad, have you had any type of circumstances or experiences in your journey that you've had to deal with something of that nature in the band?
Oh, well, I've had lots of arguments and fights inside bands that I've been in, and luckily most of them haven't been. I've been mostly the one who has to get in the middle and mediate them and get them to come to a conclusion. But yeah, like I guess if you're dealing with reasonable people and people who are coming to the table in good faith, then there's a way to kind of move around these things. With songwriting and stuff specifically, it's like I think that Aleef made a good point there, that it's just like it's not worth the fighting about it, so you just find a way to give them compensation and make it easy. And the other things inside of it, of like how you navigate some of that other stuff, it's like you just have to do it from a place of honesty and empathy and sincerity, and try to understand the people's points and where they're coming from, and try to really think about it and make people feel like, make sure that people feel heard. And I think that's just such a big part of it, that's when people seem to get upset about things, mostly it's because they don't feel like they're being valued or don't feel like they're being heard. So don't put them in that position. Make sure that you're trying to be as empathetic and as much of a team player as you can be.
Awesome. Well, that's a great question. I wanted to jump into last one, but we have like 5 minutes left. Maybe we could, if you can answer it real quick, because I really think this would be a good question for this artist. What is your advice for finding a way to connect more with the community and bring them into what you're doing? I don't know who would like to answer that one. That'll be the last question. Let's say Jocelyn, end us off.
Invite the community in more. We do like community outreach shows sometimes, where we put donations out. And COVID, my husband and I did like a thing on CH and invited our whole neighborhood around just to get out of their houses and listen to music. I think just being present in the community and creating different opportunities for people to come and see you that aren't just like the same venue all the time, the same crowd. Getting different bands to open, or you to open, like you're bringing in a different mix of people. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, definitely. That's good. Just a matter of getting out there and letting the public know and the community know that you exist, your music exists, and then also your narrative, like your story, where what's the backstory of your band or you as a solo artist, so they can enjoy the rest of what you have to offer. But
a lot of our music is my music, like my lyrics come from stories of mine that I've experienced. So I try to share those stories on stage too, to further connect with people, and if they resonate with those lyrics, it just kind of pulls them into that experience a little bit more. So
definitely,
letting them know what songs are about.
Well, I want to thank you all. You guys have dove into the question awesome, and it was great to hear your experiences, all your advice, little tidbits. We are done for the time. I wanted to find out real quick. Anybody have any special projects you want to promote, or anything real quick that you can let people know, maybe your websites or anything like that, we can jump in?
I don't have much. I've if anybody wants to see my band Golden Feather in Hamilton, we're playing on November the 25th at Bridgeworks. And I own a record store called Into the Abyss. If you'd ever want to come in there and say hello to me, and you have any questions regarding any of this stuff, I'm usually there, and I'm always happy to chat. So thank you for tuning in.
Great records. I bought my Prince record from you. Aleef, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, mainly just keep in touch on the socials, Nezqwik, and then you can find my personal Instagram as well, just Aleef Mehdi. Yeah, the next big hit we'll probably have is we always do a birthday gig for me and my drummer in March, and it's always a riot. So Stay tuned and come out to that.
Awesome. Jocelyn, real quick before we say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm playing Friday at Ward 4, place downtown with another female artist as a duo. And I play in Orbit, which we're playing in November. I can't find the date right now, and then plays this in December. So if you follow my personal Facebook page, there's different ways you can come out and see some music.
That's beautiful. Thank you again, guys. Thank you very much for the audience. This is day 2 of a 3-day conference. Please check out the website, hamilton.ca, musician conference, to sign up for another topic. Tomorrow's topic will be discussing breaking out, and you can still sign up at Eventbrite. And remember, you can also always watch the conversations live on our Facebook at Ham ONT Music. And thank you very much for everybody. And always check out all the attachments so you can always get that information and continue to support Hamilton Music. Thanks, everybody.